Hello, everyone, and welcome to Palmetto Sports Daily. Rick Henry here in Columbia, Tegan Brown in Myrtle Beach, Kevin Bilodeau in Charleston, and Carmine Jamay in Greenville. We have a full house, and we're going to kick it off by talking some college baseball. We're going to start with the Gamecocks. And I know Gamecock fans are going, finally, this season is over, the worst season in Gamecock baseball history. They lose the opening game of the SEC tournament in Hoover, Alabama, 11-6 to Tennessee. So South Carolina finishes with a 22-35 record, the most losses in program history. Even topping the mark that they set last year in the first year under Paul Mainieri. When Paul Mainieri and USC separated ways in March, Monty Lee became the interim head coach, and he just couldn't get this program going in the right direction. A former Gamecock baseball player told me the team just doesn't have enough talent. And now the search for the new coach is on. There'll be some folks who will be behind Monty Lee because he is a native of Lugoff, just 30 minutes away from Columbia. He had one stint at the USC as an assistant under Ray Tanner. He left to become the head coach at the College of Charleston, and then he left there to become the head coach at Clemson. Very successful, a winning record as a head coach. And here's Monty. He was asked last night, why should he be considered for the head job?
I mean, it's been a blessing to be a part of this program and all the other programs that I've been a part of as a coach. And I've had a lot of success as a head coach. You know, I have. And I would just encourage. I know this season's been really, really tough. Last 2 years have been really, really tough. But, you know, look, I know who I am. I know what I've accomplished as a head coach. You can look at my track record, and I just ask anybody to look at my track record as a head coach. I've won plenty of games as a head coach. Now, that being said, you know, the administration has to make a decision as to who they think is the best leader for the program moving forward. And I respect that they're going to go through that process and pick, you know, the right guy for the job. You know, if that's not me, my time here has been it's been a wonderful experience. It really has. It's been really, really special, and it's been an honor to be able to wear this uniform and you know, and to give the kids my very best. I mean, I think ultimately that's the one thing that I can say is I gave them my very best. It wasn't always, it didn't always work out the way that we wanted it to, and we're certainly disappointed the way the season ended this year. But, you know, I gave them everything that I could.
I have a lot of respect for Monty Lee. He loves this South Carolina program. As I said earlier, he grew up just 30 minutes away, attended a lot of sporting events growing up here at South Carolina, all the sports. But I think it's going to be really hard for him to get the head coaching job because he's been part of this staff that's had the two worst seasons in Gamecock baseball history. I think the fans especially are ready for someone outside the program to take over. Kevin?
Yeah, and I've said it before as well. You know, I'm a big fan of Monty Lee from his time here at the College of Charleston when I covered him on a day in and day out basis. I thought he did a good enough job at Clemson, and, you know, things just didn't work out in this time as the interim head coach. And, you know, I think you're right, Rick. I don't see a scenario where he gets this head coaching job, mostly because, and I've said this before, but if you're the AD, if you're Jeremiah Donati, this is your first big hire as the athletic director of South Carolina. I think he's going to want to make a bigger splash than just promoting the assistant coach, the interim coach. I think he's going to want to go out and get his own guy to be the leader of this program. Now, I don't know if Monty would be interested in staying on another staff as he did when Mainieri was hired. I kind of think it might be time for him to move on. But I feel like Monty was really put behind the eight ball from the time Mainieri showed up in Columbia, you know, because Monty was in charge of the recruiting, and then reportedly Mainieri took that away from him and gave it to another one of the assistant coaches. And if there's anyone I want recruiting in the state of South Carolina, it's Monty Lee, a guy who probably knows South Carolina baseball as well as anyone over the last 20 years. So I think it would be a good move to try to keep Monty, but I think for him, if he can find another gig, it might be time for him to move on, Tegan.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like that. And with the aspect of the recruiting kind of being taken away from him, as you were saying, I think that's something that if South Carolina fans were trying to think about this both ways of keeping Monty or not keeping Monty, that would be something that would work in his favor since he wasn't as heavily involved. But if I'm the AD, yeah, I want to make a hire that's going to have an impact that fans are going to like, something that honestly feels new and like you're taking action to change this program, Carmine.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it started off with some hope when Monty Lee took over because they had that win over a top 5 Arkansas team in his first weekend. And then you finish, though, on a 13-game losing streak. I mean, that's tough to defend. 7-23 in the conference, like you said, Rick. The worst year in Gamecocks history, right at the bottom of the SEC, of course. And then a 22-35 overall record. Rick, if you were to say these are the reasons why you could see Monty Lee being hired, even though I know it seems like a very difficult thing to happen and extremely unlikely, what would be the reason to keep him on and go from interim to head coach, or is there not really that much of a reason?
Well, if you're going to give Monty some serious consideration, we just mentioned his ties to South Carolina, a South Carolina native. He grew up a South Carolina fan. He had a stint as an assistant under Ray Tanner, and then he left to coach the College of Charleston and Clemson. And as Kevin said, who knows South Carolina baseball and all the hotbeds of high school baseball in the state than Monty Lee? That's a big reason to keep him on. And then the experience he has coaching both in the ACC and the SEC, 2 pretty good baseball conferences. I can make a lot of arguments for keeping him, but again, it just may be time for him to move on, especially if he's not going to get serious consideration for the head coaching job. But hey, a lot of respect for Monty, and I know wherever he winds up, he's going to do well.
And a lot of respect on the Clemson side with another tough season for their head coach, Eric Bakich. The Tigers also losing the first round of their conference tournament, also going in as a 15 seed against the 10 seed, just like the Gamecocks. And Clemson losing 5-4 in a tough one against Notre Dame at Truist Park in Charlotte. And so that was a difficult one for them, ending a season that was really disappointing. But it started off really well. They had that season series win over the Gamecocks in the Palmetto series. They started 8-0. The Gamecocks were their first loss in game 1 of that series, and then they started 15-2. They got all the way up to 11th ranked in the country, and then it all fell apart from there, finishing with just 2 ACC series wins and 8 conference series losses this season. Very uncharacteristic, a 31-26 overall record, and just a 10-20 record in conference play for them. Also, right at the bottom of the ACC, after their season-ending loss, here's Coach Bakich on what happened and what needs to change.
For a team that could never really find its stride and never really peaked, never really got hot. Once ACC play started, it was the hope that, well, we're saving our best for the end and doing making a magical run. And so I'm always going to default to being optimistic. The bigger picture, just want to apologize to the Clemson fans, and it's my responsibility to get this program competing for championships. Failed to do that this year. Making sure we do whatever we need to do necessary to be in a completely different position.
Make sure that we know what's asked of us and from our coaches, and just as a player in general. When you come in here, you got to work hard. You got to want to play to the Clemson standard, and you got to want to be a Clemson Tiger.
And so a tough way to go out this season, and really the entire, basically final 3 quarters of the season for Eric Bakich after leading this team to not only the NCAA tournament in his first 3 years, Rick, but also hosting an NCAA regional all 3 of those years, even making the super regional round, which they also hosted for the first time since 2010, a couple years ago. And now all of a sudden, in his 4th year, after becoming the winningest coach through his first 3 years and through any 3-year stretch in Clemson history ever. Eric Bakich and Clemson finds their way outside of the NCAA tournament, really not even close, because they would have had to win their conference tournament to even get in. So it's just a difficult, disappointing season, and hopefully they can bounce back next year.
Well, Carmine, let me ask you, how loud is the grumbling up there in Tiger Town? Because, taking a slide after 3 very good years. But, again, the Tiger fans, they're waiting to get back to Omaha. It's been a minute since they made that trip. So how crucial is this upcoming season for Eric Bakich?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I definitely don't think he's on the hot seat right now, but if the struggles continue for one more season like this, it'll definitely be warming up. But they did have, they showed signs. I mean, they beat a 20th ranked Boston College team in one of their last home series. They won that series for one of just their 2 conference series wins all year. Up in Tegan's neck of the woods, they beat 8th ranked Coastal Carolina recently in Conway, the largest crowd that they ever had at their ballpark. And they won the Gamecocks Palmetto series, so that helps a little bit. But, yeah, you don't want to see this trend continue. But we will continue right after this short break. Many more exciting topics right here on Palmetto Sports Daily.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We stick with college baseball, where conference tournament play continuing this morning, getting off to an early start, including the Citadel with a 9 a.m. first pitch. More on them in just a moment. But we start off with the College of Charleston, and we mentioned yesterday that CFC head coach Chad Holbrook really thought his team had a good amount of momentum coming into the CAA tournament. They were coming off a weekend sweep of George Mason, and Chad Holbrook really liked the way his team had been playing over the last couple of weeks and was really excited to see what they could do once they get out to UNC Wilmington for the CAA tournament. And the answer, at least early on, was not much, because CFC got smoked in their first round game against Hofstra earlier this afternoon. They get run ruled in that game 13-0. They call it after 7 innings. So CFC now drops down to the losers bracket of the CAA tournament. They'll play an elimination game tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. against the loser of the second first round game at the CAA tournament that's coming up a little bit later this afternoon. So CFC has a lot of work to do. They have now dug themselves a big time hole if they're going to make a run up at Wilmington in the CAA tournament. As for the Citadel, I mentioned they kicked off at 9 a.m. this morning, and it seems like from the jump they were just scoring runs, and they never let go. They put up 21 runs on VMI as they run rule the Keydets. And remember, they just went to VMI for the final weekend of the regular season, swept the Keydets on the road. Then they come back, get another win. They just smoked VMI today. 21-11 was the final in 8 innings in that one. Couple of huge days for Michael Gibson. He went 5 for 5 with a homer and 4 RBI. Phillips Daniels went 3 for 5 with a double and 5 RBIs on the day. So the Bulldogs offense is just rolling on all cylinders right now. And you kind of have to wonder if maybe they should have saved some of those runs, because the way the SoCon tournament works, they have to turn around and be right back in action later this afternoon. A scheduled 4 o'clock start. It'll probably be a little bit closer to 5 because that first game went so long. But Carmine, they're going to go up against a Wofford team that they've had some struggles with over the past couple of years, including this season. But a really good start for the Bulldogs today.
Yeah, wow, 21 runs. That's incredible. That's a football score. 3 touchdowns right there. But see how they do against Wofford, because the Terriers, even though they're a 4 seed, they've had a lot of success in the SoCon tournament. Helps that it's right down the road from Spartanburg at Floor Field, home of the Greenville Drive, right in downtown, probably about a 20 or 30-minute drive for Wofford to get there. But the Wofford Terriers have won 3 of the last 5 SoCon tournaments. So we'll see how they do as they progress. And then for USC Upstate, they are over in Asheville starting the Big South tournament. And so they won this tournament for the first time in their school's history last year. And then they made their first NCAA tournament appearance ever last year as well. This is video of them last year, like I mentioned, in Clemson, where they lost back-to-back games in the regional. But like I said, that was the first time ever for USC Upstate making the NCAA tournament in school history. And Kane Sweeney was a first-year head coach, so he's trying to repeat that history once again as they start off the Big South tournament up in Asheville. So Tegan, exciting baseball action, and I know same for you as well.
Very exciting. Yeah, Coastal Carolina actually in action right now as we record this show, so I cannot tell you the outcome, but you guys will know it by the time we get there. The Chants taking on Louisiana, the team that they lost to in their last series of the regular season. If they lose this game, they still have another chance. They'll go on to play App State in the losers bracket. If they win, they'll go on to play Texas State. So we'll talk about that matchup more throughout the week, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We're going to talk some high school baseball because the story I'm really interested in from down here in the Low Country. We're in the lower state and upper state portions of the playoffs, especially in baseball and softball right now. And an intriguing matchup tonight in the 3A lower state finals. It's going to be Hanahan taking on Oceanside Collegiate. Now, these two teams played back on Saturday night over at Oceanside's home park of the Shipyard in Mount Pleasant. And great game. I was there for the whole thing. They went 10 innings. It was scoreless into the 10th. And finally, Hanahan would break through. They get a 1-0 win on the road against Oceanside. So they earn home field advantage in the lower states, which is tonight, against the winner of the losers bracket game that was on Monday. That was Oceanside won that one as well. They beat Dillon, so they earned their spot in the lower states. So it should be Oceanside visiting Hanahan tonight for the lower state championship. But Hanahan, as the home team, they have the right to choose where they want to play, I was told. And the Hawks actually announced right after Oceanside won their game that they want to go back to the Shipyard, go to Oceanside's home field, and they want to play the lower state championships at Oceanside's field. Hanahan is still going to be the home team. They'll take the home dugout. They'll bat last in the game, and they'll have all the home field advantages, but they're doing it at Oceanside's field. This is a scenario I have never seen in high school baseball in my 20-plus years of covering the sport here in South Carolina. Rick, I wanted to ask you, you've been doing this longer than I have. Have you ever seen a situation where a team not only gave up home field advantage, but gave it to the team they're playing tonight?
Kevin, I'm just puzzled. I don't get it. Why are they doing this? Because they had some success there already? I mean, these are the biggest games of the season. You want to be on your home field, with the majority of your home fans and all the comforts of home. I'm just stunned. I've never seen this. You always fight and scrap for home field. I've seen instances where a school may not have the facility or enough seating. You have to go to a neutral field. But I've never seen someone, hey, we'll go play on their field. I need more information, Kevin.
So the story that I've heard from a few people, mostly parents, and saying they've talked to a couple of the assistant coaches. So Hanahan's field is much, much shorter than the Shipyard where Oceanside plays their home games. So when Oceanside has played at Hanahan in the past, Oceanside's got some big boppers in their lineup, so they've been able to hit a lot of home runs when they play at Hanahan. Because the walls at the Shipyard are a little bit deeper out, they have trouble getting more home runs there. And also because that stadium, I don't know if anyone of you guys have seen it, it is literally right on the water. It's one of the most beautiful stadiums in the entire state. But you get that breeze coming right off the water, so that kind of keeps the balls in a little bit more. So I'm thinking that the thinking from the Hanahan coaches must be, let's keep the ball in the park as much as we can and hope it goes the way it did on Saturday in that 1-0 win, Carmine.
Yeah, I mean, it's very unconventional. I've never heard of this either, but from the rationale that you explained, Kevin, it kind of makes sense. I mean, these two schools, I just looked it up, 43 minutes away, about 20 miles on Highway 526, which is actually my birthday coming up. So May 26th, hey, we can have a special show. But back to the baseball, guys. The Hanahan fans can probably still travel relatively well and get there in about 40 minutes. And if it plays better as far as their strategy to keep those big boppers, like you said, Kevin, keep those balls inside the park, limit the home runs. It worked well the last time they played, like you said, with that 1-0 win to gain this home field advantage in extra innings. So, Tegan, to me, it actually seems like a smart strategy, but very unconventional. I wonder how the fan split will be. That's my only thing. Will they be overwhelmingly having a bunch of away fans rooting against them? That'd be the big takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a unconventional situation. Really, the only similar thing I can think of that's happened here in the Myrtle Beach Conway market was a couple of years Coastal Carolina football, when they played in the Myrtle Beach Bowl, they were technically the away team because the Sun Belt team is always the away team in that matchup. And, you know, all the fans were talking about, well, are they going to be in the away team locker room? Like, how's this going to change everything? And Coastal ended up being able to use their own home locker room. But, yeah, it's an interesting situation here, Kevin.
Yeah, and you got to think for the Hanahan coaches, this is the biggest all-or-nothing bet you can make. Because if they go into Oceanside, if they go into the Shipyard tonight and win, not even that first game, but they win that second game, win the lower state championship, it is a genius move by the Oceanside coaches. But if they go in there and Oceanside beats them not once but twice, and the Land Sharks advance to the state championship series, there's going to be a lot of egg on their face, and they're going to have a lot of questions to answer for after pulling this move and taking these games over to the Shipyard, Rick.
Kevin, I hope it backfires. I mean, you never turn your back on your home field, your hometown. My McBee Panthers would never do that. Yeah. So I hope it backfires. I'm going to be watching this. Oh, no, no, no. Go Oceanside. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this segment of Palmetto Sports Daily.
Palmetto Sports Daily.
Oh.
We're done. Go to break.
Wrapping up Palmetto Sports Daily with the Coaches for Charity event that was right here in Greenville yesterday at the Poinsett Club in downtown. It was beautiful. The Coach DeBerry Foundation, Fisher DeBerry, the all-time winningest coach in Air Force history. We'll get more into this and our special guest there. Rick Henry was the host, but he was also trying to coax me into paying for everything for charity, all these trips, these game day packages. Rick, you saw my wallet. It was empty. I'm not sure why you treated me like that after inviting me there.
Yeah, your wallet was empty, but knowing you, you probably had it stuffed in your sock. Okay, more on Coaches for Charity tomorrow. Have a nice evening, everyone.